What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. Today is gonna be a quick little rant, kind of chat, I just was thinking about this the other day because I had somebody asking me about switching programs, feeling unmotivated, and they felt like they were just not seeing progress in the gym. And I was kind of thinking about it, you know, what are the top reasons that I see as a nutrition coach, clients not making success in the gym? And these were the 5 that I came up with, and we're gonna talk a little bit how to combat that. So let's just get on into it. Number 1, the first reason that I think people struggle seeing progress in the gym is that they overstretch themselves. And this is especially true with beginners and people who feel like they can take on more than they actually can. A lot of us are not designed to train like high-level CrossFit athletes, collegiate athletes, unless our life's dedication is to do that. You know what I mean? So when it comes to just like your regular 9-to-5 person who is trying to lose weight or maybe get in the gym for the first time, you want to start small. And I think the biggest mistake is I see people wanting to like overhaul their lives, right? Like they try to do something really extreme, such as 75 hard or, you know, a 60-day cleanse of something. And they just go from 0 to 100. And it's overwhelming, like as it would be. So when it comes to making a lifestyle change, the best piece of advice that I can give to you is to pick one small thing per day that you can work on until that becomes a daily habit. Anything that you do in life that you're trying to make a habit takes a long time to actually become a genuine habit. So you can't expect yourself to just like go from 0 times a week going to the gym to 5 to 6 days a week. Within the first couple of weeks, you're gonna get burnt out, you're gonna get overtrained, frustrated, tired, and you're probably not gonna recover very well, which then in turn is not gonna give you the progress that you're looking for. Number 2 is I think probably the most common one that people from beginners, intermediate, advanced, I see this happen all the time. And I think there's 2 reasons why. And number 2 is not sticking to a plan long enough or not sticking to the course of the goal long enough. And I'll give you a perfect example. A lot of times I have women come to me who want to look more toned, right? They want to have a more muscular appearance, but they don't like that it does take a long period of time to build muscle. And how do you build muscle? You need to eat in a caloric surplus. There is no way around it. You have to weight train, you have to eat in a caloric surplus, period, okay? And a lot of women, what happens is as they're bulking, as they're growing, I know people are gonna be in the comments and like, oh, you can do a conservative bulk, you can do a clean bulk. Okay, it's still a caloric surplus, whether it's 250 or 500 or whatever you and your coach choose to do. At the end of the day, if your goal is to build muscle, you are going to put on weight. So they'll commit to this bulk for like, I don't know, a couple of weeks, a couple of months, the scale goes up and they're like, never mind, I feel puffy, I don't like this, I wanna go back to a cut. And they go from bulking or surplus macros to deficit macros. And then nothing really happens aesthetically. And then they're like, okay, I don't like this. I need to change. I need to go back to bulking. And they don't stick to one of those things for a long period of time. If you've been around here on my channel for a while, I talked about my growing phase that went almost 7 months. 6.5 months of eating in a surplus, focusing strictly on bodybuilding, hypertrophy, isolation movements. And do you know what? I didn't change my workouts at all. I stuck to the same structure, the same type of workouts, the same routine, the same exercises. Yeah, it was boring, don't get me wrong, but the biggest mistake when it comes to not being able to stick to one of those things, whether it's cutting or bulking or whatever, is people will program hop or they change their exercises, they change their routine because they think it's gonna get them where they wanna be faster, and that's not necessarily the case. Especially when it comes to building muscle, it's really, really underrated because people just don't like to do it. But time under tension, right? Isolation movements and testing them in a progressive overload manner is going to be what gets you the best results in combination with eating in a caloric surplus. But if you're constantly changing your exercises, you don't know what you got last week for a hip thrust or deadlift or squat, whatever it is, you're never gonna be able to track your progress. Which brings me to number 3, not keeping track of any data during this process. Now, this can be applicable for being in a surplus, for being in a deficit, or honestly just in general with your workouts in the gym. I don't think people keep track of what they're doing enough. And so let's say, for example, you're going to the gym and you're doing traditional bodybuilding lifting, right? And you are doing hamstring curls, 4 sets of 10 to 12 or whatever it is. If you are not keeping track of how many reps you were able to do at 75 pounds, next week you're going to want to try to get one more rep at 75 pounds, or you're going to want to go to 80 pounds, or the next week you're going to go 85, or increase the reps. This is part of the progressive overload that I was just mentioning. If you're not keeping track of that, you're going to have such a hard time seeing progress in the gym because you don't know what your reference point is. You don't know how much you're doing for strict press. You don't know if you're increasing. And with that being said, you also don't know if you're building muscle because you're not tracking your weight, or you're not taking pictures or measurements, or whatever the case may be. Even if you're doing CrossFit, you should be keeping track of your scores for Metcons, your strength portion. Maybe it's like unbroken set of pull-ups, right? You started out your progress in the gym only being able to do 3 pull-ups, but you never tested it. So now you don't know what your progress is. You know what I'm saying? So it's really important, even if it seems silly or mundane to you, to keep track of your exercises, your weights, maybe even how many days a week that you're doing, especially as a beginner. Maybe you're somebody who could only run for 1 day of the week and it was only 10 minutes. And now you're running 2 days a week and it's for 20 minutes. These are things that are really important that people neglect to do, especially in the beginning. And then it's harder for them to see progress in the gym because they don't have anything to reference. Number 4 is largely overestimating or underestimating your cheat meals, your meals on the weekends in particular. And I see this a lot with beginner clients because they will go really, really hard during the week. Monday through Friday is great. They're hitting their macros, they're eating their meal prep, they're doing all this stuff. And then the weekend comes and they're like, well, you know, I'm just gonna take a day off or take a evening off. But the evening is actually like 1,700 calories, which in the grand scheme of things, is one night a week to have off horrible? Absolutely not. But what happens is when they do that, it brings their weekly average up, right? So when you're looking at their week, they think that they're eating in a caloric deficit. It's really important that you're being honest with yourself when it comes to these cheat meals. As much as I hate that term, you guys get what I mean. Because if not, it can really, really hinder your progress, both from a nutrition standpoint if you are trying to lose weight, but then also if you're trying to make progress in the gym, you may even be under eating in that case, and then your performance is going to suffer in the gym. Lastly, number 5, speaking of being in the gym, I think this is actually something that is way more common than people realize, and this is not having enough intensity. And when it comes to bodybuilding style workouts in particular, I completely understand, because I was actually that person who didn't get how to make those workouts challenging, because as someone with a CrossFit background, I just know how to kill myself in a workout and lay on the floor dying, feeling like I'm literally out of breath after a workout. But you don't really see that with bodybuilding, so you have to find intensity in other ways. How do you do this? The way that you create intensity in bodybuilding or traditional style lifting movements, isolation, all of that, is you're doing tempo work. So you have, like, let's say a 3-second eccentric, or you're pausing, like pause front squats. Doing anything with a tempo and really focusing on the mind-muscle connection is a great way to increase your intensity in your workouts. Also, like we talked about with tracking your weights, trying to actually push yourself in those weights. You don't have to go to true failure on every single thing that you're doing, but it is worth trying to push yourself in the weights if you haven't tried it before. For example, if you're somebody who has only ever back squatted 3 sets of 10 at 95, try 3 sets of 10 at 105, or try 4 sets of 8 at 105. You know, there has to be some type of progressive overload, but of course that is a form of intensity in itself. But if you're not trying and you're not pushing yourself, you'll never know. A lot of people think they're going to failure or they're near failure, but they're actually not. My girlfriend is a perfect example of this. Whenever we would go to the gym together and work out, she would think that she can't do something and she's like, no, I'm done, like I'm failing. And I'm like, no, you have more. And she can do more. She can do 2, 3 more. And a lot of us are that way. Just as a little side comment, I'm not saying to go max out your back squat by yourself with no spotter or your bench press or something and drop the barbell on you and crush yourself every time. Nothing ridiculous. Make sure you're staying safe when you're testing your maxes, but really attempting to push yourself between reps. You know, like if your rep range is supposed to be from 8 to 12, really try to get that 12. Or if it's a max effort for reps, really, really try to go until you physically feel like you can't do it anymore. All of that type of intensity is going to challenge your muscles to grow. It's really going to show you what what you're capable of, because I do believe that people are not really aware of what their actual maxes are or what true failure looks like to them. Then of course you can always implement things like drop sets or AMRAPs. Even you can do AMRAPs with body weight. So let's say you're doing a movement and then you're dropping the weight and performing as many reps as you can with body weight. That's a great way to add in some intensity. Also doing like some plyometrics if you're not someone who typically does that. And if you don't know what a drop set is, that basically just means that you're going to failure at whatever weight that is, and you're going to remove about 20%, then go to failure at that. And some people even do a double drop set where you remove another 20% and go to failure. So these are just different tactics that you can use to help increase your intensity without necessarily just saying, okay, I'm going to add 5 pounds to my workout. There's a lot of different ways that you can do that, and I just challenge you to really test yourself, especially in the gym, because that's where you're gonna see the most progress. I hope that was helpful for you. If you enjoyed this video, it would really mean a lot to me if you hit that thumbs up and click subscribe. I really appreciate you guys' support, and let me know if you have any questions for me. As always, the link to everything if you are interested in nutrition coaching or to sign up for a free week on my app, which is all the workouts that I create, as well as 2 6-week programs and an 8-week Olympic lifting program. All of that is in the description box, so check it out, and I will see you guys in my next video.